Welcome back to the University of Melbourne Biology series. This is episode 12, and today we follow the flow of life around two very different bodies, an animal and a plant. Picture a single cell buried deep inside a large animal. It is hungry for oxygen and nutrients, and it is steadily producing waste. The surface of the body, where exchange with the outside world happens, may be a long way off. Now picture a leaf at the very top of a tall tree, making sugar in the sunlight while its roots, many meters below, pull water from the soil. Both organisms face the same basic problem. How do you move the right things to the right place across a body far too big for that to happen on its own? Over the next 12 minutes we will solve that problem twice, once for animals and once for plants. Let us begin with the animals. Start with the core problem for an animal. Multicellular animals are large, and many of their cells sit deep inside the body, far from the surface where exchange with the outside world happens. That creates real trouble, because diffusion alone is simply not fast enough to supply those internal cells across such distances. Put plainly, direct diffusion to every cell is not sufficient once a body reaches any real size. So multicellular animals require complex transport systems, and those systems exist precisely to overcome the limitations of diffusion that come with their size and the internal placement of their cells. And notice that these systems are not built for a single job. A circulatory system is what makes efficient gas exchange possible. It handles the delivery of nutrients, it carries away the waste that cells constantly produce, and it even supports communication between cells across the body. Size forces the issue, get big, and you need plumbing. So what does such a system actually contain? Strip any animal circulatory system down to its essentials and the same parts keep appearing. There is a pump to drive the fluid. There is a circulatory fluid that does the carrying. There are exchange surfaces, where substances actually move between the fluid and the tissues. There is a system of tubular vessels to channel the flow. There is a mechanism to return that fluid back to the pump, completing the loop. And finally there are elements that structure the flow and direct the fluid where it needs to go. Together, these components do one thing: they ensure the efficient transport of substances throughout the body, delivering nutrients and oxygen and removing waste. 6 parts, 1 job. Not every animal builds that loop the same way. There are 2 broad designs, and they differ in how the fluid moves through the body. In an open circulatory system, the fluid flows openly through the tissues, washing around the cells directly. In a closed circulatory system, the fluid stays enclosed within a network of vessels and never bathes the tissues freely. That single difference has real consequences. Closed systems are more efficient and they allow for much better control of blood flow, directing it where the animal needs it most. The 2 designs are scattered across the animal world. Open systems are found in the arthropods and in non-cephalopod mollusks, while closed systems are common in the vertebrates, animals like us. Why 2 designs at all? The answer lies in evolution. The animal vascular system did not arrive fully formed, instead it evolved over time from simple structures into complex ones, and that progression closely tracks the rising metabolic demands of animals. The more an animal needed, the more its transport system had to deliver, and the system grew more elaborate in step with that demand. 2 adaptations stand out along this evolutionary path. Closed circulatory systems, which we just met a moment ago, are one of them. The other is the chambered heart, a more powerful and organized kind of pump. Both of these are improvements that enhance transport efficiency. So the evolution of the whole vascular system is best read as a response, a steady answer to the same pressure, the need for more efficient transport and for better, more economical use of energy. Complexity here is not decoration, it is demand made visible. Now zoom right in, to the tiniest vessels, where the whole point of the system is finally realized: the exchange of substances between blood and tissue. This is capillary exchange, and it is governed by a tug of war between 2 kinds of force. On one side is hydrostatic pressure, the physical pressure of the fluid. On the other is osmotic pressure, the pull created by dissolved substances. The balance between these pressures decides which way things move across the capillary wall. When the outward push wins, substances are filtered out of the blood into the surrounding fluid. When the inward pull wins, they are reabsorbed back into the blood. Filtration and reabsorption are the two halves of this exchange, and the pressure balance is what tips it one way or the other. That is the animal solution. Now turn to plants, because a tree is also a large multicellular body, and it faces its own version of the transport problem. A plant needs efficient transport systems to move three things throughout its structure: water, nutrients, and sugars. Each has a job. Water is needed for photosynthesis, for cooling, and for structural support. Nutrients are needed to fuel growth and development. And sugars, made in the green photosynthetic tissues, must be carried to the parts of the plant that cannot make their own. So the general traffic runs in two directions. Water and nutrients travel up from the roots, while sugars move out from the leaves to roots and other non-photosynthetic tissues. Same fundamental challenge as the animal, a completely different toolkit. What is that toolkit? In plants, transport runs through vascular tissue, and like the animal vascular system, it too is an evolutionary solution shaped by a transport need. Vascular tissue evolved specifically to meet the needs we just listed, the demand to move water and nutrients efficiently through a growing body. And it brought two benefits bundled together in a single tissue. First, it provides rigid structural support, holding the plant up. Second, it provides efficient transport of water and nutrients along the plant's length. Those two gifts together had an enormous consequence. With internal plumbing that doubles as scaffolding, plants could grow taller than ever before, and compete far more effectively across many different environments. This is exactly why the evolution of vascular tissue counts as a key factor in the success of land plants. Height and reach, the ability to tower over rivals and capture light, all trace back to this one innovation in tissue. Let us follow the water first. Water moves through the plant in a tissue called the xylem, traveling from the roots all the way up to the leaves. But what drives it upward, against gravity, with no pump in sight? Two ideas do the work. The first is water potential, which sets the direction of flow. Water moves across a selectively permeable membrane according to this potential, always heading the way the potential dictates. The second is transpiration, the loss of water from the leaves. Transpiration creates a pull, and that pull draws water upward through the xylem, lifting the whole column from root to leaf. So the plant raises water not by pushing from below, but by pulling from above. It is an elegant, quiet kind of engineering. Water goes up, sugar is a different story, and it travels in a different tissue, the phloem. The phloem is a complex system built from two kinds of cell working together, the sieve tube elements, which form the actual conducting pipes, and the companion cells, which provide metabolic support to keep those sieve tubes alive and functioning. Through this system, sugars are transported from a source to a sink, from where they are made to where they are needed. How does the sugar actually get moving? The mass flow hypothesis explains it. Sugars are first actively loaded into the companion cells, and from there they are carried along by passive movement through the sieve tubes. Active loading sets up the flow itself then carries the cargo onward. Step back and look at the whole picture. We met the same problem twice. An animal and a plant are both large multicellular bodies, and in both, simple diffusion cannot supply every cell on its own. The animal answers with a circulatory system, a pump, a fluid, and vessels that carry oxygen, nutrients, and waste, with exchange happening across the capillary walls. The plant answers with vascular tissue, xylem carrying water up from the roots, and phloem carrying sugar from source to sink. The hardware could hardly look more different, a beating heart on one side and a silent column of water on the other. But the logic is identical. When a body grows too big for diffusion, life builds a transport system. That is the thread connecting every organism in this episode, and we will pick it up again next time.